Hey everyone, welcome to the Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steve Steele, where we dive into insights and principles that will supercharge your leadership and ignite your personal growth. Now, whether you're a budding entrepreneur, a leader navigating a change, or perhaps a seasoned pro, this show is for you. Each episode is packed with practical strategies designed to elevate your mindset and apply your leadership impact. So get ready for actionable tips that you can put into practice immediately. And a huge shout out to all of our amazing listeners. Thank you so much for your unwavering support. So let's get started and unlock your true potential. Today, our guest is a leadership and purpose coach, U.S. Marine Corps Warrant Officer, and founder of B&M Global Enterprises, LLC. That's leadership coaching training company, specializing in guiding leaders through pivotal seasons of transition with clarity and confidence. With over 20 years of experience across the military, manufacturing, corporate, and Fortune 100 organizations, he has led and coached teams ranging from small groups of 4 to influencing leadership decisions impacting more than 30,000 globally. A Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach and Behavior Assessment DISC Consultant, he helps leaders unlock authentic confidence, strengthening communication, and elevate team performance, empowering them to lead with clarity, connection, and purpose from the inside out. Welcome from the green room, Michael Humphrey. Oh my gosh, Michael, it's so good to see you, brother.
Man, it's awesome to be here.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Yes,
I'm so glad
thank you for that intro.
Yeah, we've been planning this out for some time because I think Dr. Bryn, who I've had on this show many times, was kind of our connection, right?
Yes.
And so and I love
plug.
Yeah, I love her too. She's amazing. So she got us connected together. And when we had our discovery call a few weeks back, I was just so excited to get to meet you and learn about what you're doing. So that's why we're here today, Michael. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about a program that you put together. But first, before we get started and all that, what I really want to zoom in on, let's get our audience to get to know who you are a little bit, because they don't know who Michael Humphrey is. So let's can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started? Because I know you're in the military, you're in the Marines, so I'm really excited about that. And by the way, thank you, brother, for your service. I greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you again for the intro, man. Wow. Well, first, let me just say this. I am one of those people who have done all the right things. I felt like I did. Got the successes, all the things that you mentioned there in my intro. But for a while there, I still felt a little bit like I'm not winning. And so for me, it started, I'm originally from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm-hmm. And to sum up my story, I would just say this is that my experience was one day as a high schooler getting off the bus on the way home from school one day, and my mother was there, which is not normal, and seeing her. And she told us that we had just been evicted, right? Oh, okay. And to see your stuff scattered across the lawn, by an angry landlord, and me looking at her face and my siblings. And I don't know about you, but in that time of my life, I grew up where you were told how to feel, no matter if you felt differently. You were told what to do, no matter if you wanted to do it or not. And so that was a household I grew up in. That was just a generation at the time, not blaming anyone, but that's what it was. And so right then and there, I learned how to pretty much survive quietly. All right. Before I could even lead.
But how old were you at the time, Michael?
I was 15 years old at the time.
Is that right?
I was 15 years old. Yep. My dad was not home in the picture. He had been sentenced to 20 years in prison. That was his third strike. Great man, just influences, right?
Yeah, I understand.
And from there, I joined the military. I joined the Marine Corps, and that was to do a couple of things for me. That was to get me out what I call the four-wall hood mindset. It was just, I needed to do better for my family. Like I was trying to help my mother, and so I was like, okay, I can serve my country. I can help my mother out, and then I can get education, because at the time I did not decide to go away for college because I wanted to stay home and help my mother. And during that time, I went to the military, learned how to go to war and all those things, and became a leader. But somehow still, right, I had learned that emotions were distractions. The Marine Corps was really great about teaching us not to make non-emotional decisions. That was to protect us from making impaired judgment calls, right? And which was very valuable. But for me, starting out with learning how to survive quietly, it only reinforced the narrative in my mind that, okay, emotions are distractions and silence equals strength. And so that was a huge part of how I grew up in our household. We didn't talk about things. And so I didn't talk about things. If you didn't ask me a specific question, and you asked me, how are you? Tell me about you. I'm like, I'm fine. And so just how to be able to connect and communicate, that was nothing. And once I began my, leadership journey outside of active duty, I saw that these other rock stars in the industry, I started in manufacturing, and I saw the same leaders like with the similar struggles. And I'm just like, I'm thinking that they're emotionally resilient and sound, but I really saw that they were just emotionally disappearing.
Really?
Yeah. And that's survival mode. And so that was something that followed me into a point where I then got married. And my wife looked at me and she said, I feel like a single parent and something needed to change. And so that began the journey of the change in my leadership.
Mike, let's go back to when you entered the military a little bit. And did you actually go overseas, and did you actually were you in combat when you were in the military? Because I think you did. I don't think you were you in the infantry, or were you in I want to say that I think that you were like in.
I was a combat engineer first.
Engineer, yes.
I was combat engineer, and so that was mainly over survivability, counter mobility, and mobility, meaning that, okay, we're making way for follow-on forces, we're preventing the enemy, and then we're creating temporary housing, if you will, in order for protection. And so that also looked like with explosives. So that was a joy starting out, right?
Oh, I can imagine.
And then it turned to me, okay, I just want to protect my hearing.
Oh, I can imagine.
But yes, I did 2 combat tours, and also had.
Now, was that in Iraq or Iran?
That was in Iraq.
Iraq. Okay.
That was in Iraq. Yep. And then I also had the privilege of serving in Nigeria for a year, Israel for a year, and then also Argentina for a year. Yeah.
I love what you just said. I love the fact that you had the privilege of serving, because that when you're facing combat, and I've had several veterans on here. I've had Navy SEALs on the show before, and we've had those conversations. And these guys were in the heat of the battle, And Mike, what goes through your head as a young man like that when you're faced with that kind of situation? You're faced with that. I know your training takes place. I know that they've trained you well, but what's go through your head? Because I would be like, I don't know what I would be thinking. I'd be totally lost.
Yes. So that's a great point. So the training. So I would say one of the things that I appreciate about the Marine Corps is that we do the worst case scenario training. And, it sucked in the moment, because it was like, wow, we're never going to win. You're never going to get that sense of I made it through this training exercise, right? Because it was teaching us to fail, to have a new base. Because before the military, I tell you what, when change happened, when things didn't go my way, I would go into like a cocoon. Like I would shield off the world. My whole world be crushed. Yes. So it was really detrimental to me. It just took me into a slump. And going through the Marine Corps, you had to adapt. They have a famous saying, adapt and overcome.
Right,
it became a ditty, and you hear it more now, but it really teaches you to adapt. And so it increased my baseline. Each training increased my baseline. And so from a state over there, when you're face to face with death and potentially like you won't make it, your wires are up. Your mind is always going. your head is on a swivel, like they say, like you are just
Mm-hmm.
not at rest, and you're basically scared.
What
You are fearful that you will not make it.
what do you do in those times when you're on that high of an alert? I know that your sympathetic nervous system is going crazy. It's just going crazy, and you're like, it's you're on high alert. You're on pins and needles. You're like you said, your head's on a swivel. How do you bring yourself down? Or let me put it this way: how do you bring yourself into more of a parasympathetic state of mind where there's calmness and more peace in times like that?
Well,
Or do you? I don't know.
I would say during that time, that's where I found my faith, like my real faith.
Is that right?
That's where I found, like, my first time in combat is where I found my real faith.
Tell me about that, brother. Because we love to hear that on the Leader's Edge.
Yeah, because what you're talking about is like I said, like your mind is going, you're on a rotations with little sleep because you're just out there. And the job I had to do, I had to find explosive. I had to, we're seeking for the enemy. We're seeking for weapons. We're doing all that stuff. So you're on the go. There is no rest. There is no rest in that physically, I would say. And so, you have people getting hurt around you, have people dying around you, and you don't know if you're going to make it. You don't. And so at that point, I was at a fork in the road, and, I grew up in church, around church, and I say it that way right now in retrospect, because there was this part of me that felt like faith was like out there. It was like, you hear people in service, they'll talk about, oh, God is this, my God is that, and my God, my God. And it was like this personal thing that made others, it made me, and I'll just speak for me, it made me feel excluded. It was like, well, that's great. He ain't been that to me.
Oh, I understand.
And so, yeah, really. And so in that moment, people talk about how he's their peace, how he kept, them, how he's a provider. And I didn't know. But at that time, I began to, like, I was naturally a worshiper growing up as a kid. I would be singing, you have songs and stuff like that. And in boot camp, I lost my voice. So that not being able to sing or whatever, that was the death of me. It felt like, because you had to scream all day. But over there, I leaned into more of the, okay, I need to find a way to, like, I started writing some stuff, and I showed my wife a couple years back, and she was like, whoa, you were going through. So I was doing that. They also would have like a chaplain or someone to drive, like to try to drive out there, because we were living in people's houses. So there was really no, like, I mean, I didn't have a shower for like 2 months. My camis are like stiff, you can take them off and stand them up. So I'm seeking for ways to just find some grounding, just to find some stability, something to hold on to. Because over there, I'm fighting bitterness, I'm fighting anger, and it's like part of me knows better, but I'm faced with this. And so there's this constant tug of war in your mental state and emotionally. And for a lot of it, you get numb. You have, like, you're forced into numbness because you were told to make non-emotional decisions. So, like, again, the way I received that was suppress everything down and just keep moving.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just suppress it all down and keep moving, because your brother and sister to the left and the right, you can't afford for you and your head to be out of the game. So you need to survive.
That's a big responsibility.
Yes. And I didn't think about that at the time. I mean, I can see now how that was, but for us, our capacity was built to be able to have that mental fortitude to stay in the fight as much as possible. Yes, certain other individuals kind of broke, you could see it, we're all human. But for me, it was, I had learned how to survive quietly. I learned that growing up. So to do it in combat, it was almost like, okay, that's familiar, keep going, and so I found faith over there, because in times I would hum songs, and you'll laugh at this, but at the time we had the little iPods,
Yeah.
And so music was a way for me it was almost like therapy,
Of
it
course.
was also a means of how I express my love to God, you
Yep.
know? And so all I had was one song on there by Maroon 5.
Really?
Yep. She Will Be Loved.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not sure if you remember the meaning of that song, but it was about a woman who was in distress and full of insecurity, and someone being an advocate for them and letting them know that they are seen. Right. And so the song was, uh, but she will be loved. She will be, and I would change the words. I am loved.
Oh,
You love
wow.
me. And so it was
Wow.
a way for me to stay grounded and keep my mind. And there would be instances where I was in one location and I would leave and something would happen after I knew I was just there. An explosion would go off, someone would get hurt. And so I felt kept over there after leaning into my faith.
That's amazing.
Kind of a long answer,
beautiful.
but
No, that's absolutely beautiful, Michael. I know that, let me ask you this question. We got about three or 4 minutes here before we go to a commercial break. But let me ask you this question. Do you feel like that through your growing up and the adversity that you had, as a teenager, with some of the things you went through, do you think God was preparing you? Because you said you get quiet, you were reserved, and do you think God was preparing you for this moment in your life for where you were there?
Oh yes, I'm a firm believer that that everything works out for our good, and that meaning that everything is preparing us and building a capacity, building a process, because you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
Is something that I've come to. So I can't give you steps to come out. I can't give you ways to have different perspective. I can't reach you if I don't know where you're at. And so I've always been placed in different places of transition, places of hardship, places where it required resilience. And it felt very uncomfortable. I didn't understand till later on. But now I know that my test is now my testimony, meaning that it was my equipment. It was something building me in order to that now I can go into different arenas and different teams and places and empathize and connect. But then I can pull because I came out as well.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know that, even though we talked about your combat experiences and the things that you went through there, when you were at home before you went in the military, you had to make a transition or transformation in your mind and mindset when you went into the military, right?
Yes.
And you're still in the military, I understand. Is that correct?
Yep. I'll be retiring here in a couple months, but
is that right?
Yep.
Well, that's wonderful. That's
knocking
wonderful.
on my door.
I bet you're excited about that. Yes, but Michael, it wasn't, even though you went through all that and you got out of, your tour, your duties, and you stayed in the military, you came back, still wasn't really easy. There's a lot of changes you had to make. So what we're going to do, Michael, we're going to take a quick break. And we just talked a little bit about your history, a little bit about your story, a little bit about the military. But when we come back, we're gonna really get into a little bit more as far as, where you found yourself at home. Yeah, right. Because that's really when things begin. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to the Leader's Edge. Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with my special guest today, Michael Humphrey. Well, Michael, we did talk a little bit about your tour of duty and a little bit about your military experience. But once you got out of Iraq and you did your service overseas, you had to come home. So tell me a little bit about that. You kind of mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but tell me what changed there at home, and you found out you had to make another transformation in your mind and heart. Tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So coming home, I found myself, well, for one, the transition going from combat zone to back into America, back into civilization. It's a process. You know, you're not sleeping. You're just trying to get your mind to settle somewhat. And, you know, at the time I wasn't married for the first time that I went over. And the second time I wasn't married either. But then I also had the opportunity to serve in those other three countries that I mentioned, for Nigeria, Jerusalem, and Argentina. And it wasn't until after then that I then had to come back and then started working. And so that transition is trying to come to work for a civilian, out of being in a culture where it's militant, where everyone, like from boot camp, you're intentionally broken down bad habits, mindsets, right? And then built up, into this institution, which I live by the principles. I live by the character traits. I love it because that was one thing that gravitated me toward it, was that this is something that I could apply in my life, not just in the Marine Corps. And so when you're now having to lead, I came with entitlements. I came with a great work ethic, because we were taught to perform, right? If there was a mission, by any means necessary, you are getting that mission, which is one of the qualities that are alluring for organizations to be able to hire, because they know that once you have a target, once there's a mission, like, there's going to be relentless effort to get there, which is not very common for maybe the average person. And so, and that was not disrespectful to anyone. It's just more so just from a pattern that the militants have to come in, because that's how we operate. And so I began to lead, and what I found was that I was bouncing from like I would go in and lead and do well, and if anyone was on a younger age, because at the time I was in combat engineering, and so a lot of the folks that I led were very impressionable, right? So I had more of the authoritative style, and so it was very directive, and so they were young and impressionable, and boom, so very compliant, right? And so I had no real feedback on anything different, because I was just doing what I knew to do. But it changed once I started to elevate and become leaders of managers. And that's when I found that I was really leading from a performative place and not being fully present in who was in front of me, because I was very insecure. And so this insecurity showed up because I was accustomed to every couple of months moving around. And I didn't realize that this scarcity mindset of eviction, of me being kicked out and me living paycheck to paycheck and things like that, like, I was running from that lifestyle. I was running from that mindset. And so with me running from that, I had nothing to ground me. So that looked like me running to opportunities. Like, I would go in, fix something, and then I would look for the next thing.
Right.
And so I'm like running away from the issues. And it hit me when my wife experienced that even though I thought I was working for my family, I thought I was working to create a lifestyle that was not like my past, that would allow me to be a better father, a husband, not have the financial strain on me, that then created an atmosphere that was familiar that I did not want to have. I realized when my wife looked at me and said, I feel like a single parent,
Mm.
I realized I was like, wow, something had to change, because I did not want, because my parents were not together. So it was like,
Right.
I was trying to create something different, and I didn't know how. I was feeling like I was doing all the different things, but still about to end up the way I grew up. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I know now, right? Like I said before, you can't give what you don't have. And so I was doing, doing, but did not know how to be, because at that point I was accustomed to shutting me down, right? I was adopting what I thought was success, right? You militant come out of active duty. I don't want to be a failure, so I need to make sure that I have a job. Like all the fears of transitioning. I need to make sure that my family is taken care of. I was newly married, so it was like I need to prove that my wife made a good decision and that her family trusted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a lot on a person. That's a lot on a man when he comes out, especially when he comes off duty and he's faced with that kind of thing. So, Michael, tell me something. How did you move? And this is where I want to get into what a little bit about what you're doing today, a little bit. So how do you tell me a little bit about your journey from that performance driven mindset that you had to a more purpose driven impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and yeah, so tell me about that.
Yes, that was when I was struggling at work, and I was
Now, when you say struggling, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Struggling meaning that I was in a newer industry, well, a newer role, excuse me, and it required something different within the industry that I was not familiar with.
Okay.
So I needed to learn while leading at the same time.
Yeah.
So with insecurity, right? Leading with insecurity and not identity.
Mm-hmm.
I am. Oh, that's my little things.
Yeah, they're going crazy. Yeah,
right. That's the
love it.
Perfect timing. I did not know how to handle it, so I couldn't be honest. I couldn't be authentic. I didn't know how to ask for help, because I'm like, you're hired in to bring these solutions, right? So I am overperforming, overworking, because I'm insecure and I'm not at home. I'm sleeping 2 hours. Everything was 1 hour away. And that's when it happened. Yes. And so my plant manager, my leadership is looking at me like, what's going on? And what really was when I rubbed against my values. I totally violated my values by giving a disciplinary action to one of my managers, and I knew it was wrong, or it didn't feel correct. Like it felt like I was missing something, but I did it anyway, just to please and not disapprove. Gosh. Yeah.
Oh, have I been there? Have I been there?
And I totally broke trust, and not realizing that this one manager was carrying a lot of my gaps.
Yeah.
And here I am putting more pressure. I totally broke the trust, and it really began to downward spiral. And so I was really going extra, because they had silently quit and shut down.
Yes.
And so then it came to a point where they wanted to send me to help out some other plant, because at that point I had done some really good work until I did that, and it was going down. Yeah. And then they sent me to another plant just to get me out of the area, to kind of try to reset by helping out another plant, and I did. Mm-hmm. But during that time is when I delved into Dr. Miles Monroe, because I was praying. I'm like, Lord. Lord.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know what to do. Like, I need to get another job at this point, because I feel like I'm about to be fired, whatever the case is there. And so Dr. Miles Monroe, what's it called? The Power of Vision. Mm-hmm. This book right here, The Power of Vision. I tell you what, and in it showed me that I didn't have vision for what my life was. I was running to salary because I had been broke. I didn't realize it. I was running for salary, but I was still broke.
Mm-hmm.
and broken, and I did
Mm-hmm.
not have anything to run towards. And so it showed me that what your work is not just your career, it's who you are, and how you are created in this world to be where there's only you that God had created, to where you were able to carry out his purpose in a way that
Yep.
only you were designed to do it, to influence only
Love
people
it.
that you can influence. And so it was giving me voice of who I was. It was feeding me. And at
Yes.
that point, I got to the point, okay, I'm supposed to encourage, enhance, and empower people.
Yeah.
Right. And so then also I was delving into John Maxwell. And John
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell, this book, The 15 Laws of Leadership, because I was trying to grow. I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, I'm stuck in this middle of faith and real life. And I'm a very practical guy, militant, Lean Six Sigma, all that stuff. Like, if you don't be
Yes.
practical with me, you're probably gonna lose me. So I'm very practical with others.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, how do I tie both of these together? And, one of the laws is the law of the mirror, right?
Yep.
Understanding your value. And again, me not being able to give what I did not have. And so I couldn't advocate for that manager. I couldn't give them voice because I wasn't giving myself voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I couldn't lead
And
them.
and I often look at it this way. When I was faced with a situation, the empathy that I wanted to, I couldn't lead with empathy because I wasn't empathetic with myself. I didn't forgive myself. Yes.
And I wore it with pride. I wore denying myself with
Yes.
pride.
Yes.
I thought it was honorable.
Yeah.
I thought it was honorable to quiet myself. I thought it was honorable to do the opposite. So I was for so long detached from me.
Oh, me too. Me too, brother. I know exactly what you're talking about. And
so no wonder I can't connect, because I can't connect with me.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, Michael, how did you get out of it, man? How did you move out of it?
So I prayed during that time. It was for a week. I prayed and I started reading this material, and I came back, and a recruiter who I had worked with called me out of the blue. It's like, hey, I see that you're working about an hour out. I know you're newly married with the baby. That can't be good for the family.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lord. It was a pay cut, but I had not changed my lifestyle, so it was a chance to start over. And so during that time, I also went back to school, because after reading this book, it was really digging into who I was. And so then I'm like, okay, now how do I apply this? Like how can I carry this out? And so that's when my framework started to begin to form, and I call it fuel. Right? Because at this point, my authentic voice was gone. And so now it's getting fuel to come up again. Now I'm getting some clarity on, okay, who am I? So I had to do the F, which is find who you are, right? When there's a bunch of noise and stress response, you're only responding to what's in you. So I had to find what's in me, right? So that's the F part of it. And then to you, the U part, once I hear what's going on, right, now I need to understand, okay, what does this mean? Encourage, enhance, and empower people, right? Now, like, what does that mean? Right. Now that means, to me, I'm disrupting every lie that keeps people living beneath their God-given design. And what that means for if you're not a person of faith, that now means I'm disrupting. Yeah, I am disrupting every lie that keeps you living beneath your max potential. I didn't know my potential because I was trying to prove my worth. I wasn't living from it. I didn't know my value. I didn't know what my value, like I thought I knew what my values were, but I didn't know how to live by them.
Michael, but tell me something. But tell me, those people that are out there that feel that they're not worthy. How did you find your worth? How did you find your worth?
Oh man. Well, first I had to find, that takes me back to my faith, whose I am, right? Okay, I had to be shown otherwise. So if I knew that my faith was telling me that I am wonderfully and beautifully made, that someone died on the cross for me, that I am forgiven, that even though I did people wrong up until that point, even though I failed at my leadership, even though I was failing as a husband, even though I was failing as a father, that there's still someone who values me enough to forgive me. That's where it first starts. Yeah. It first starts with understanding that you are valued, that somebody died on the cross for your sins so that you don't have to die from the bad things that you have done, that you can be forgiven. And so the fact that I can be forgiven gave me a sense of value that, wow, I am worth it. And then two, I'm worth it to share this good news. I'm worth it to help others come into the light because I was in a dark place. I was in a place of trying to prove my identity, to prove my worth, to prove my value. So how does that look practically in the world?
Right.
You know, right. And so understanding purpose, you know, as a purpose coach, like that comprises of a couple of things. It's giving the best of what you have in order to serve the needs of others.
And that's enough. And when I say that, I mean it in this way. We're enough.
Yes.
We've always been enough.
Yeah.
And that's where our worth comes from. It's about being enough and knowing that we are enough. And the greatest thing about what you said for me was, and some people believe in a higher power or they believe in the universe or whatever it is, that for me, it is knowing that I am worthy just who I am.
That's
just
right.
because of who I am. And for me, it's who I am in the Father God. That is how I know that I am worthy, because he meets me and he'll meet others. He'll meet everyone right where you're at. And that's okay. And that's enough, right?
That's right. Because he met me in my mess.
Yeah. And we all got a mess. I got a big mess. I tell you what. So F was what? It was
F is to find.
Find, right? And U is to understand.
To understand. And then E is the part where you engage. So this is the part where I really had to understand others, lead with empathy, understand the value of community, because I was in isolation. This whole time I was trying to figure things out by myself. Right. And so I think we understand that there is danger in isolation because you have your own narratives, you have your own closed mindedness. And, you know, some say that's the devil's workshop because you're having to play with your own perceptions. That's the beauty of having a community of others who are further along with you, having counselors, having mentors, having a coach, right? Because they have an objective view in order to help you do something better for yourself.
And it really messes up your perspective as well, right? Because
absolutely,
perspective becomes solo mentality.
It's power. Oh, yes.
Right. So you're all your thinking is in your head.
Yep.
And really where the answers are is in collaboration.
Absolutely. And connection. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because then you'll be selfish, self-full, right? And you can't do that when you're trying to engage and connect with others. And then the last part is L, where now that you're understanding yourself, you understand when pressures come, how you respond, what's happening when you're engaged with other people. Now, in the middle of that, you got to know how to lead through that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. I want to know where the rubber meets the road, because you know that's a powerful statement that you just made there, because that's really where life is. Ooh, where rubber meets the road is where life is. So we're going to take another quick break, Michael. Okay, and then after we take our break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about where that rubber meets the road, what you're doing today, and how you're helping people. So we'll be. Does that make sense? I mean, you want to go there?
Oh yeah, let's go there.
All right, sounds great. All right. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll get back right with Michael. We'll be right back to the Leader's Edge. Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with our special guest today, Michael Humphreys. And Michael, we just talked a lot about the platform, the framework that you built called Fuel. And we said that F was for find. right? And U is for understanding.
Understand.
And then E was for engage.
Engage.
L
And then
is
L is
for
to lead.
to lead.
That's right.
You made a statement right before that. We went to break, and you said, "This is where the rubber meets the road."
Oh yes, this is where the rubber meets the road. So, what I've come to, I've always been a person that part of how I'm wired is I love to understand complex things and then bring some kind of clarity to them.
Okay.
And yes, I know. And so for me,
I
God
want it
bless my wife.
simple. I just want it simple.
God bless my wife, because she's like, you are doing too much. And sometimes I am, which is why we fit like a glove, right? And so fitting like a glove is the part that I want to really open up, because the example that I adopted from her, which is a simple form of behavior pattern recognition, which is, the DISC. It's a personality behavioral assessment tool. Because for some people, and like myself, I'm a person who has developed, skills after having to work with people all over the world, right? In the military, overseas, and then, with large companies cross culturally, right? And so you develop things that you recognize. But for a lot of individuals, that may not be the case, right? That may not be the case for someone newer to an industry, newer to the workforce, maybe limited in what they have been exposed to. However, what is main and consistent is the person who shows up in the room is who they are. All right. You have your mind's eye. And this is something that I learned from teaching DuPont safety, right? Your mind's eye is developed based upon your experiences. And so for a lot of people, you're having to work together with whatever the depth of the mind's eye that there is. And so sometimes when you're working with individuals, we got clashes, because I got my perspective, I got how I view things. And so I call it Northeast, Southwest, right? So you got, my wife says, like, the North is like they're go fast, or you're just do it people. You got your East person. They just want to know what's the light at the end of the tunnel. I am more of a visionary. South says, well, what about the people? And East says, I need all the details. Northeast, Southwest. And that's a light version of DISC.
Yeah. Right? So Michael, people who don't know what DISC means, the acronym DISC, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So DISC, I said, is a behavioral assessment tool. And so you have your D, which is more of the dominant kind of personality. So they're more quick, speed, and usually folks who execute fast. They make decisions fast. They problem solve very quickly. So they're go-getters. And then you have your I. They're more of the inspirational. They're the energy in the room, the life in the room, and then you have your S. They are the steady and support, very loyal, very consistent, and they're about relations. And then you also have the C, that they're very they want to be accurate. They're your ones that are attention to detail. And so 2 of those letters are more people oriented, and 2 of those letters are more task oriented. And then you have a blend of them both. And so this assessment help people they help them to understand how you are to yourself, right? And how you are under pressure, like what comes up under pressure, how you are under pressure, because some people don't realize that they're different under pressure. And then how are you from the experience of others, because you think you're one way, but from the experience of other people and in the workplace, they actually experience you as this. So it provides information. Yeah, absolutely. With all the, and it gives some sight to maybe the blind spots that we all have. And so me as a person coming in, self-awareness is so powerful, right? Because if you can understand patterns, right, you know what to expect. And who does not know what to expect? If I can expect something, then I can maybe predict an outcome. And who does not want to have an outcome that is more predictable?
Right.
Every business owner, every person with relationship. Ooh, if I can communicate this and have a better response, great. And it's not a chance. It's not to manipulate. It's a chance to equip, because a lot of times people are hiring themselves. A lot of times we're speaking to each other like, I want to be spoken. And that's a me. Right. But this is a tool that's a means to bring awareness so that you can connect. Now, if I know how you're wired, I can connect in a way that's palatable to your understanding. So for those who are people leaders, for those who are in relationship, for those who want to get something communicated across, if you understand what your team is, then you're mostly able to have an executable plan, because the failures in plans usually it's in the execution, which usually sometimes it's connected to delivery and understanding. And so if we're trying to bridge, right, the gap, bridge the understanding, fit like a glove, they're strengths. But if we understand each other's strengths, then we can connect and apply each other in our strengths.
Michael, how do you take fuel and the disc analysis and put them together for people?
Oh yeah, it's so good. So part of the process is, first, when I go in and do these trainings sometimes, and if you know me, great, then you kind of trust what I'm talking about, because you know maybe my experience and being around people and understanding that I have a discerning, skill where I can recognize things. But how about the person who's wired a little more to data? I'm a little more on the relational side. I have the data capabilities because I'm militant in my background, right? However, what about the person that is strongly wired one way? This process gives them an objective view. It gives them a data-driven view based upon hundreds of years of data, because people, we haven't changed very much in our patterns.
Right.
And so that's the find, right? That's finding, and that's also part of the understanding as well.
But this doesn't just work with your job or it works in your family as well.
Oh,
right?
yes. And I did it for my family and I. And so
tell us about that. How that turned out, brother. How did that turn out?
For one, I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. So my wife is very honest. She was like, it was a little long-winded, baby. And but it was so cool to see that, how we're all together, we're now covered, like it's a full circle, because one of the benefits of it is that it provides you a 360 view. And so I was so happy to see that the 360 view is actually within my family. So us working together as a family, we will be unstoppable. And so what that does for each family member, it shows your strength and how you communicate. It shows your strength and ways where, when you maybe need to have a hard conversation, maybe when you want to explain something to your child. Like my daughter, she is a full CS. She is very detailed. She's very smart in school. So that compliments her. She's very accurate. She doesn't want to mess up. She plays softball. She's very driven, but she has a S part about her. She loves her little brother. I'll say one of the things that we've had to tell her is that this is your baby. And so she has never let that loose, even though she's 10 and he's 6. So she has a strong care, but she's very consistent, very loyal. So that information allows us to understand how she's wired. And then when we want to communicate something or coach her, because as a parent, you're like a life coach, you got to be, but as you're coaching them, you're coaching yourself.
Yeah.
It helps you in that communication as well, because now you're equipped.
So let's say that you're at work and you have a really difficult conversation with a particular employee. Okay. Yeah. How does DISC work? If you know what that employee, tell us how would you approach that?
So say you are, great question. And this is something that we apply in my workshops when I do this, is to actually act it out, because like I said, I want to be very practical. I don't want to be theoretical. I want to be something that's very practical and useful for when people walk away.
Can you act that out? Can we act that out right now? Can we do
absolutely
that together?
So say you're an S person, right?
Okay, I am an S person.
Yep.
I'm actually an IS. I'm an IS.
Okay. So, all right. Good deal. So that means that me knowing that is you're looking at my energy, and you're looking to see if there is security and safety in what I'm saying. If you actually care about me. Okay. So all the things that I'm saying, you're going to pay attention to, and you're going to remember it. I'm going to come as a D. I'm a little bit more task oriented, because I want to move the business along. I see that we're not hitting numbers. Yeah. And so lots of times as those managers, because I was one of those, I was a full functioning D at one point. But as I became aware, I was able to shift my behavior. Okay. So now me knowing that you're an S and I'm a D, instead of me saying, hey, Steve, you didn't hit the numbers today. I need you to get the numbers before you leave today. I need you to work through your break. Like trying to have a conversation about numbers. That's all it's about, numbers. And so, hey, Steve, what happened today with numbers? You got 10 out of 20. What's going on?
Oh my gosh. Well, I tried my best. I really did. I just ran out of time and things weren't adding up the way I thought it would. I mean, I tried.
Okay. Sorry, were you trained on a job?
I was trained. Yeah.
So why didn't you do your job?
Well, I did do my job. I was having some struggles with it.
You passed training, right? You had all your materials, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why didn't you do what you need to do?
I just did the best I could. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I need you to make sure that you get that up going next quarter. Okay.
All right.
All right. Full.
Oh my gosh. It made me feel horrible.
And I was that guy. Like I went in.
Oh my gosh.
It's so bad. I was that guy. I would look at charts. I'm like, okay, who owns it? The due date was then. What's going on?
Oh my gosh.
Who owns it? You know what I mean?
All right. Let's flip the switch. Now okay. You know who I am. Now how we do approach it this time.
Hey Steve, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm having a little bit of struggle here, getting some things together, but I feel good. I'm great.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, usually you're doing a really good job. So, and I get it. We're all human. You know, it happens. We have our off days, but you say you're struggling. What are you actually struggling with?
Well, to be honest, things at home could be better. I'll just be honest.
Oh man. Whew. And I know it's hard because when things go on at home, we try hard not to bring it into work. Right. But I can clearly see it's really impacting you. Is there anything that I can do that can help you now?
Just sometimes, boss, I just need somebody to talk to once in a while. That's all. I mean, if I could just get it off me, I could be better.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, right here, I see we're about to go to break right now. Let's talk a few minutes before your break. Okay. That way we can try to see what's going on here. That way I can see if I can help you out there. All right. And if we need to get you some, resources, we can, but I want you to be at your best. Okay. Because, you've been rocking and rolling and killing it. And I know it's not like you. So the fact that you're hurting like this, I know something's going on, man.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right.
Wow. That was a totally different feeling, right? Totally different feeling.
Because you're about the energy and you're about relational. You didn't feel like I was out to get you.
Right.
And so that's your main concern. Yep.
Exactly. That's the power of DISC. When you have that understanding of how to work with people. And I will encourage anybody who can take DISC and share it with if they know it or get with somebody that can help them assess it, that they actually should get that in their life because that is a powerful thing. So Michael, tell us a little bit of what you're doing right now. We got about 4 minutes left. So tell us a little bit of what you're doing and go from there. Yeah,
absolutely. So currently right now I am pushing a training on future leaders. All right. Because as I mentioned, we're in a work generation of 5 different generations currently right now. And so we're shifting to whereas before you and I, and maybe those before us at like in another generation, what kept us motivated was we had responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so right now we are in a generation where there's plenty of opportunities. There's a lot of information and Gen Z is on the rise and they're doing some really great things. So how do we stay connected? How do we stay productive? How do we keep people? If unemployment is like low 2.1% in one area, like how do we keep them and want to, retain them? So the first thing I'm doing is helping leaders to understand that engagement, the 70% of engagement in the workplace is on the leader. It's on the person that is engaging with the team. So that means that this is potentially a $550 billion cost to the U.S. right now. So there is money, a cost for us behind engagement. So for organizations like the ones I came from, where maybe training was not focused on, but helping others in, I would say industries to understand the value and how to connect. Because if they don't feel motivated, purpose driven of how it lines up with the company, if they don't feel like you're connected with them, they're going to leave. The workforce right now is mainly, millennials, right? And again, I said the Gen Z with AI, they're on the rise and they have something that we need. As a business going fast. And so I'm offering those workshops, those lunch and learns so that we're able to get in with organizations and show them that there is some real value in this and how it would save companies costs, because you don't want quality on the end. You want it in the process. You want it in the beginning. And then what I'm also doing from there, that helps them overcome the stress and anxiety in the workplaces. But also what I'm doing is, once they get this training, sometimes the leaders are wanting a little bit more help and application, because we're dealing with patterns, especially when you're those higher roles. Like, you need something objective to help you stay the course. And so that's why I offer my one-on-one coachings. I'm helping individuals get the raise, a promotion, or just lead well, right? Because we have to lead ourselves well first before we can lead anyone else.
Absolutely.
And those are the two things I'm working on. I also am speaking. I have a book coming out. It's called Maya's Special Backpack, and this one's for children.
Wow.
It's for ages 4 through 8, and it is around fuel. All right. So you'll see it. I have a proof right here that I'm going through there. So that'll be ready in a couple of weeks here. But this gives language to parents that can read to their children and start to develop that voice now. And it says, helping little leaders discover their inner power. So
I love it.
Yes. And in it has a few questions, reflective questions for the parent and the child to be engaged and to ask a couple questions. And you can find me.
Go ahead. Tell us where we can find you.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on bmglobalent.com. That's where my LinkedIn. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Michael Humphrey, and I'm there. I'd love to connect with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Next week on The Leader's Edge features the amazing, and on her second appearance, Deb Greer, a true warrior. Deb is a 3-time cancer survivor. She is someone every leader hopes they never need, but will be incredibly grateful to know if they do. And just as a reminder, if you can find The Leader's Edge on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you find value in these conversations, please hit that subscribe button or follow and stay connected. I want to say to you, all of you, thanks to all of our listeners and friends, because without you, The Leader's Edge would not be possible. I'm so grateful to have you here and so excited to connect with you. So next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.